All right, to watch this video for Wednesday, November 28th, showing you the SPY here. This is where the SPY closed yesterday, and then today we gapped down, and then pretty strong all day. Pretty nice move in the SPY after the small gap down. Here is what I have on watch for tomorrow. ASNS. Now it's really extended, but you never know. Sometimes you get a nice setup the next day. If you weren't there in chat today, look at this heads up that Jim gave 10:48 this morning. And it was before this got there, looking for a whole number flush, one of the things that we teach. And let me bring that back up. I didn't mean to. Looking for that flush below 2, right? After this nice move, the flush below 2 went down to 195. So you could have had it anywhere between 195 and 2. And, well, you can see what it did from there. All the way to 450 at one point. I'm going to watch it again tomorrow. But I'm going to give a tip of the cap to James and a ton of people today in the chat room killed it with that name, and it'll be back on watch tomorrow. PXS, these shippers are pretty beaten up after a huge run back here. This PXS gap down here consolidated, but gave a nice push up today. Again, if you weren't there, I actually called this right over 160. There was a seller there, and if I pan out, I think you'll start to see why it was so interesting. It hit 160 back here, 160 here, and then I'll scroll over. So over 160 is a mini breakout on like the 5-day chart, right? And it's a former high flyer. And there was a seller on the tape. So the call was through that 160 seller. We got a quick move to almost 190 and closed kind of strong. So we want to watch this one tomorrow, maybe. And we're in between earnings season. So, these low priced, lower float stocks tend to run a little better when we're not in the thick of earnings season. So PXS is one. I'm also going to watch GLBS. It bounced today. And note that it hit the whole number 5 to the exact number. And over that whole number break, you kind of have a little cup and handle here going back a few days. So if shippers come into favor tomorrow, that's also what I'm going to be watching. PLCE, let me go to the daily. It's Children's Place. I heard on Benzinga today that, what was it? Gymboree selling half their stores. They're not traded publicly anymore, a private company now. But they're like closing half their stores. So obviously people say, hey, that's good for Children's Place. So nice volume today for this stock and a really solid move. I would note that it's been running for 4 days in a row. But when you go to intraday, and this is when it started to gain momentum. And it held up pretty well. You could also look at that and say, well, I've already missed the move. Who knows? But we'll have it on a chart tomorrow. AIRI, that's hard to say. Big volume spike today. I think they got some a contract, $22 million contract or something, if I'm not mistaken. And so, that's huge volume for this stock. But I'm going to point out that yesterday, this traded 16,000 shares all day. So this is a super thin stock. But this volume might get some people watching it tomorrow. It held up pretty well after the news, right? There was the pop, and then you get the halt. I love those halts. And then it reopens and held up pretty well. So we'll see. I'm going to have it on a chart tomorrow. PDD, we had it on Bounce Watch for today. Unfortunately, PDD did this for the first 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, these are, I'll give you the range here, 20, 85, I don't know, almost 90-cent candles. And a green one, then a red one, then a green one, then a red one. I mean, it's just stupid, right? So then there's no way I'm taking it after this action on the high of day break. So I never did get involved in this. But then it went up and went through 2250, then put in a lower high right at 2250, and then was flagging all afternoon. And I had put out an alert to buy it if that 2250 seller gets taken out, and that seller never did. Matter of fact, I kind of took my eyes off it when it did this. Next thing you know, it's right back up again. And then this is the last 5-minute candle of the day. So even if this did trigger, I wasn't going to take it. At some point, you're running out of time for the trade. So this is a picture of a tricky trader. Although I've had pretty good success with this stock. We'll see if some China news comes out or something. And this one could continue. I love the bounce. And if I was a swing trader, I would have bought this morning on the gap down because I wouldn't care about those whippy candles. But I'm not a swing trader, so I have to find a low-risk entry on a day trade, and I just couldn't find one there. And then SONO I'm going to put back on watch again. It's just really beaten up after the gap up on earnings and kind of had one of those indecision candles today, closing about where it opened. We'll see if it gives a low risk setup tomorrow. It only traded 1.7 million today, so we'll see. It's a small list. There weren't a lot of standouts today, but it only takes one decent trade to make your day. So we'll see everybody in chat tomorrow. Have a great night.